Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers.
Greetings to you, Mr. Robert V, as always, and thank you for our Tuesdays. And we greet everyone with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And we hope you like the show.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a good show. Well, tonight we're going to talk about Black Elk Speaks. I read this book right here. Black Elk Speaks, a really good book. You can get it. It was actually a pretty cheap book. You can get it off eBay or Amazon. It's all over the place. It's also on YouTube or AudioVox, and you can listen while you work. How about that? So we're going to talk a little bit about Black Elk tonight. Now, he was quite the interesting character, considering he lived during the years where the white man really wasn't out there. He was what was it? Ogallala Sioux.
Oglala.
Oglala, yeah, Sioux. He was out there in that area. So his reign of territory was somewhere between the Black Hills and the Little Bighorn area. So that was the area they kind of spread out over. He started out as a little boy, and he had visions, and he became a medicine man. So that's why I thought it was really interesting, because his visions started at a very young age, and he heard voices in his head that sounded like somebody was really talking to him. And then he had spells where he would literally get sick and almost be dead for days at a time while he had these visions as a young child. So that's kind of interesting. But very good book. He lived until like the 1930s, so he was a very old man, and he's recounting his story. And this writer, I'm just giving you guys a summary of it. The writer of this, what the heck is his name? I was going to write down a lot of notes, but I didn't have time for all the notes. I just figured I did a lot of underlining. The guy who wrote this, he also wrote a bunch of other stuff. He was known for writing more poetry stuff. His name is John G. Neilhart. Harton. Yeah. Well, anyway, he writes the story. It's the life story of this Oglala Sioux man named Black Elk. And before we get going, I want to say hi to everybody. We got Off the Hook in the house. Susie Q, haven't seen you in a while. You'll be back. You're making a sandwich. Off the Hook, thank you, and aloha to you. Scotty boy, put your pants on. Aloha to you too. One of these days you're going to have to tell me how to fish, because that's my list of things to do this year. Learn how to fish better. My fishing skills suck. Pa Joe, how you doing? Are your chickens laying eggs? Or is it Elderberry's got chickens too? I thought Pa Joe, you had eggs too. Anyway, thank you all for being there. F Kitty's in the house. I hope you can share some good information. You always have good information for me too. Stuart Johnstone, thank you for coming. I haven't seen you in a while. Here, so there you go. Thanks for joining the Soul Tribe. And as you've noticed, I have this here new shirt, Vibe with the Tribe, Milky Way Soul Tribe. How about that? If you haven't noticed, it's my new shirt. Be the frequency you want to receive is now Vibe with the Soul Tribe. You want to vibe with me? Let me know. No, I made these shirts up, and I'm going to see. I might make some more of them, and then see where it goes from there. Which one catches my eye the best. You know, you keep your own designs and stuff. And when I come up with a good one, you'll. And on the back, I got a big picture of the Soul Tribe. If you can see that, you see the big picture.
No, you're kind of turn around again. You're fading into the background.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, I'll just get a different shirt. I had a couple of them made. That's on the back of it. And then, of course, you got on the front of it, Vibe with the Milky Way Soul Tribe. So anyway, yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway.
You just wanted to show off your chest. That's all.
That's right. Oh, man. Oh, man. Olivia. Okay. Olivia. That's what we're calling you. Is Hawaiian for LOL is Hawaiian for stupid. Well, I guess there you go.
Sometimes it is a little stupid. Sometimes I'm a little stupid.
Yeah. So
ain't we all a little stupid sometimes, though?
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, anyway. Elderberry's in the house. What's up? Oh, anyway. Elderberry's got chickens. I wonder if your chickens are laying. Mine just literally stopped. There, like the spout just stopped, even though the weather's warmed up. I don't know. Maybe you got to change your feed or something. Okay, Pa Joe says he likes the design. Showing us man boobs. Thank you, Scotty boy. Only you would notice my man boobs, right? Anyway, so let's get back in it. We're talking about black elk, and as a little kid at the age of 5 years old, he got sick, very sick for pretty much no reason at all. His body started swelling up. They didn't know why. And then literally for days, he couldn't do anything. They thought he was going to die. They had the medicine man come out and dance around him and do whatever he had to do, but they couldn't figure it out. Even when they were moving, they had to put him on one of those, what's Travois, yes. I'm like picturing it in my mind and I can't think of the words. Thank you for helping me out. Anyway, they had put him on one of them. They thought he was going to be dead. And he made it through. He woke up, and just like that, he had this vision. And if I can find my other light, so I can see these things. I just had it here too. Here it is. And I put these things down, and then well, anyway, he has these visions, and I did mark that out. He talks about, in the book, he talks about being with the other kids and playing games, stuff like that, which was really cool. But here's some neat stuff. When he has his vision, he goes to the grandfathers. He says, and he knows it was a good thing. He had 4 ribbons. He sees 4 ribbons hanging here on a stem in the 4 quarters of the universe. The black one is for the west, where the thunder beings live to send us rain. And the white is for the north, whence comes the great white cleansing wind. The red one for the east, whence springs the light, and where the morning star lives to give men wisdom. And the yellow for the south, whence comes summer and the power to grow. Ain't that kind of cool? I mean, I'm going to have to remember those. The red for the red.
Those are the same colors on a medicine shield.
Really? Ah, well, see, there you
You
go.
know, they tie a color for the four sides,
Uh-huh.
and black, white, red, and yellow.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Um, the four spirits are the only spirits, the spirits after all, and this eagle feather here is for the one which, like the Father, and also for the thoughts of men that should rise high as eagles do. It is not the sky father and the earth mother, and are not all living things with feet and wings and roots and their children. And they hide upon the mouthpiece here, which should be bison hide. And again with the bison hide. Um, he talks a lot about two-leggeds, and he talks about grandfather, the great spirit. We always try to wonder what is it, the great mystery or whatever it is, but he calls him and he sings his song. Hey, 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 grandfather, great spirit, you have always, and before you no one has been. There is no other one to pray to you but you. You yourself, everything that you see, everything has been made by you. The star nations all over the universe you have finished. The four quarters of the earth you have finished. The day and day in that day everything you have finished. Grandfather, great spirit, lean close to the earth that you may hear the voice I send. He's praying to the. I thought it would be kind of neat to read the how he's praying to the spirits, like you, great spirit, lean close to the earth that you may hear the voice I send you towards where the sun goes down. Behold me, thunder beings. Behold me, you, where the white giant lives in power. Behold me, you are where the sun shines continually. Whence come the daybreak star and the day. Behold me. You were the summer where the summer lives. Behold me. You in the depths of the heavens, an eagle of power. Behold. And you, Mother Earth, the only mother, you have shown mercy to your children. Hear me, four quarters of the world, a relative I am. Give me strength to walk soft earth, a relative to all of this. Give me the eyes to see and the strength to understand, that I may be like you. With your power only can I face the winds. The great spirit, my grandfather, all over the earth. The faces of living things are alike, and the tenderness have these come up out of the ground. Look upon the faces of the children without number, and with children in their arms, that they may face the winds and walk the good road to the day of quiet. This is my prayer. Hear me. When I was reading that, I remember some of the mantras or the things Lucky Stone always puts on his show, and that it kind of sounded like some of that, like almost a mantra. You could say that over and over and over again. Hear me out. World. Listen to me. Kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of good. So he was a Lakota of the Ogala band.
Oglala.
Oglala, yes. His father's name was Black Elk, and his father before him bore the name, and his father of his father, so that he was the fourth to bear it. He also had great crazy horse's father, were cousins, having the same grandfather. And his mother's name was White Cow. Her father was called Refuses to Go, and her mother Plenty Eagle Feathers. And he can remember his mother's mother and her father. My father's father was killed by the Pawnees when I was little to know, and his mother, Red Eagle woman, died soon after. I was born in the moon of this is I'm going to repeat these some of these things as we go because he uses since they didn't have a calendar back in those days, they referred to things in nature for the seasons. I was born in the moon of the popping trees. Can you tell me what moon that was?
No.
December. The moon of the popping trees. I have no idea why there would be popping trees.
And I've never heard that before.
Neither have I. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So that was December on the Little Powder River in the winter when the 4 crows were killed. That was 1863. So he was born in 1863. I was 3 years old when my father's right leg was broken in the Battle of the 100 Slain. Now, the Battle of the 100 Slain was the Fetterman fight, commonly described as a massacre, the Fetterman's Massacre. That's where Captain Fetterman said, he went over the hill and he says, I'm going to charge in there and wipe them all out, and he went down the hill and he got wiped out. He was a brave man and he took all his men with him and he didn't come back. Let's see. It kind of jumps around with some of these things, but when he was a kid, he didn't get to see. He never seen a what he calls a wasishu. I've never seen a wasishu then, and I did not know what one looked like. But everyone was saying that the wasishus were coming and that they were going to take our country. So back in 1866, this was like the gossip of the town, hey, the white men are coming, which is the wasishus, and they are coming to take our land. F. Kitty says, the Sioux of the Dakotas and the Cree, the first new moon of the new year is known in various dialects as the moon of the cold exploding trees. Oh, I know what that means now. When it gets really cold, the trees crack and they kind of pop. I out here, especially, when it gets really cold, because there's liquid inside the trees, so they expand and they crack and pop. That's what it is.
And Wasichu is Indian name for white man.
Yes.
By the way, so if you hear Wasichu, they're referring to white people.
Yes, exactly. So here's the thing. He in 1866, which isn't that long ago. I mean, if you really think about it, 1866 is, a little over 200, well, it's 250 years ago now, but I mean, it really wasn't that long. And white men white men haven't been here that long. I mean, I live in the Dakotas, so no white man was here in 1866 to really speak of. And it was the Wasishus who got rubbed out in the they were coming, and that they were going to take our country and rub us all out, and that we should all have to die fighting. It was the Wasishus who got rubbed out in that battle, and all the people were talking about it for a long while. But 100 Wasishus was not much. If there were others, and others without number, where those came from. He says, I once remember asking my grandfather about this, and he says, when the scouts come back from seeing the prairie full of bison somewhere, the people say the Wasishus are coming. And when strange men are coming to kill us all, they say the Wasishus are coming. What does it mean? And he says that there are many. When I was older, I learned what fighting was all about that winter and the next summer. Up on Madison Fork, the Wasichus had found much of the yellow metal. Notice how he says yellow metal. He always says yellow metal, and he always talks about how it makes a white man crazy. And they worship that, which makes them crazy. And they wanted to have a road up there through our country to the place where the yellow metal was. But my people did not want the road. It would scare the bison and make them go away. And it would let the other Wasichus come in like a river. They told us that they wanted to use it only just a little land, and as much as a wagon would take between the wheels, but our people knew better. They weren't stupid. And when you look about you now, you can see what it was they wanted. Okay, so things were good. They didn't see many people, and all of a sudden, yellow metal was found. Now, the Indians had no desire for it. They didn't know what to do with it. To them, it was no good. We'll just go a little ahead there, okay, once we were, and this is great stuff because I dreamed about this all day long. This is going through my head. Once we were happy in our country, and we were seldom hungry, for then the two-leggeds and the four-leggeds lived together as and like relatives. And there was plenty for them and for us. But the Wasichus came, and they have made little islands for us, and other little islands for the four-leggeds. And always these islands are becoming smaller. From around them surges the gnawing flood of the Wasichus. And it's dirty with lies and greed. Isn't it amazing how when they refer to the white man, it's always lies and greed and makes them crazy.
And gnawing.
Yeah, the gnawing.
What do you understand about gnawing? Well, mice gnaw at things. They chew it into little bits. And so, here comes the white man gnawing as he comes. Like, well, what? Yeah. Chewing everything into little bits. That's just an interesting. They didn't just come; they come gnawing at things. Wow.
Yeah. For a long time, my father told me that his father told him that there was once a Lakota holy man called Drinks Water who dreamed what was to be. And this was long before the coming of the Wasichus. He dreamed that the four-leggeds, which he's talking about the buffalo, were going back into the earth, and that a strange race had woven a spider's web all around the Lakotas. And he said, when this happens, you shall live in square, gray houses in a barren land. And besides the square, gray houses, you shall starve. They say he went back to Mother Earth soon after he saw this vision, and it was sorrow that killed him. And then he says, now that, time has passed, you can look about you now and see what he meant. These dirt roofed houses we are living in, and the rest was true. Sometimes dreams are wiser than waking, and which boils down to it.
And let me add something that they now on the reservations they have block houses.
Yeah.
And that a lot of the houses aren't painted. And what does block look like when it's unpainted? Gray.
Gray, yes, that's absolutely right. Now,
and they're starving. Some, when they first had they're basically starving. So even to this day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I want to go in a little about the houses, and farther in the book, he talks more about the houses and his vision. And he says, they put us in these square, they took us off, took away our teepees, and now we live in these square houses. And he says, square is, it takes away our power. He says, round is the natural order of things. Our teepees were round. The earth, he says, we're told is round. The moon is round. The natural order things is round. Life and death, you go around in a circle. You start out and you end up, and it's a cycle. He's talking about everything is round, which is right. He's kind of right.
And even when they danced in a circle.
In a circle, yeah. He says when we set up our teepees, we set them up in a circle, and we set up, and our teepee was round, so it's a circle with circles, in a circle. And I thought, wow, and what does the white man do? We surround ourselves with boxes. Everything we have is a box. I don't know what you people out there think about that, but what do you think about the box? Does it feel like I guess we don't know any better because we all live in boxes.
Right. Well, in a lot of the ways, spirituality, we have boxed ourselves in.
Yes.
And so I can understand that round thing because I have been in teepees and slept in them and so forth. And there is a different feel in there. I gotta say, but just in thinking about what the white man has done, he has boxed himself in for years, especially spiritually.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, F. Kitty says they did circle dances too. Yeah, they didn't dance in a square, they danced in a circle. Mm-hmm.
And white man actually had square dances.
Yeah. I never, yeah.
Even though they twirled around in circles, but I mean, I was just sitting here thinking, natives, I've danced at many a powwow in a circle, but the white people invented a square dance. So just anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. He talks about one of his first confrontations. No, this is Thunder, Fire Thunder. He's with another Indian there at this when the guy's writing. It was at the Tongue River, and the soldiers were coming. They always called it a soldier's town. We started out on horseback, just another sunrise, and riding up the creek towards the soldiers' town. They were going to attack them on the Piney. We were going to attack it. The sun was about halfway up, and we popped out in a place where the Wasichu's road came down a steep, narrow ridge and crossed the creek. It was a good place to fight. So we sent some men ahead to coax the soldiers out. While they were gone, we divided into two parts and hid in the gullies on both sides of the ridge and waited. After a long while, we heard a shot up over the hill, and we knew the soldiers were coming. So we held the noses of our ponies. You know how the horses got big noses. They held them, and that would quit them because otherwise they would neigh at the other horses. How I don't know if you know about horses, but when another horse sees a strange horse, he likes to whinny at him, and then the whole scoop is up. Anyway, so we held our horses and ponies noses, and that they might not whinny at the soldiers. Soon we saw our men coming back, and some of them were walking and leading their horses, so that the soldiers would think they were wore out. Then the men we had sent ahead came running down the road between us, and the soldiers on horseback followed shooting. When they came to the flat at the bottom of the hill, the fight began all at once. I had a sorrel horse, and just as I was going to get him, the soldiers turned around and began to fight their way back up the hill. I had a 6-shooter, and I had traded for, and also a bow and arrows. When the soldiers started back, I held my sorrel with one hand and began killing them with the 6-shooter, for they came close to me. Now remember, people, you got a 6-shooter, you better be pretty close because it's very inaccurate. And
especially in those days.
Yes, you better be about 20 feet away or you're not hitting nothing you're shooting at. There were many bullets, but there were more arrows. So many that it was like a cloud of grasshoppers, all above and around the soldiers. And our people, shooting across, hit each other. The soldiers were falling all the while and were fighting back up the hill, and their horses got loose. Many of our people chased the horses, but I was not after horses. I was after Wasichus. When the soldiers got on top, there were not many of them. There was not many of them left, and they had no place to hide. They were fighting hard. We were told to crawl up on them, and we did. When we were close, someone yelled, "Let's go! This is a good day to die. Think of the helpless ones at home." Then we all cried, "Honka hey!" and rushed at them. I was young then and quick on my feet, and I was one of the first to get in among the soldiers. They got up, fought very hard until one of them, or none of them, were alive. They had a dog with them, and he started back up the road for the soldiers' town, howling as he ran. He was the only one left. I did not shoot him or shoot at him because he looked too sweet. But many did shoot, and he died full of arrows. So there was nobody left of the soldiers. Dead men and horses and wounded Indians were scattered all the way up the hill, and the blood was frozen. For there was a storm had come up, and it was very cold and getting colder all the time. We left all the dead lying there, for the ground was solid, and we picked up the wounded and started back, but we lost most of them before we reached our camp. At the mouth of the Pino, there was a big blizzard that night, and some of the wounded who did not die on the way died after we got home. This was the time when Black Elk's father had his broken leg. Can you imagine having a fight like that? Arrows as thick as grasshoppers and making clouds in the sky, and and bullets whizzing about, and then if you got wounded or and then a blizzard comes along. And you're talking the Dakotas and Montana area where, you're talking 40 below zero at night. Yeah, you better be bundled up good.
And not only that, but there ain't no trees to block the wind. And the wind having been in Montana in the summertime, the wind comes over them hills, and it's got a chill in July.
Yeah, no. Well, can you imagine what it's like in
No, I can't. It's really, really flipping cold. That's what it is.
Trust me,
knee-knocking cold.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been there, done that, and it's out here. It's just really cold. Okay, Fire Thunder is still speaking, and we're gonna move ahead. Okay, and he's talking, and now they're on the prairie. This is a different time. I thought some of these things were neat because it's just like in the movies. He says they were going. It was in the moon when the cherries turned black. What month is that?
Can't guess.
Well, oh, come on. Cherries, and they turn black. It means they're ripe.
April.
No, that would be the flowering cherries.
Oh, well, then May or June.
August.
Really?
Well, yeah. The trees bloom in April or May, and then by June, July, or August, or probably in July, they're getting red and they're ready to pick. By August, they're overripe. They're black.
Yeah. We don't have cherries like that down here.
Oh, you don't? Oh.
No. We've got wild cherries, and they bloom, they bloom early and make a little choke cherry, I think they call them. And, they're real small. But you're not supposed to eat them, but I do. Yeah, but so they're done by end of April. So that's what I said. What I did. I've not been around a real cherry tree. I mean, well, like that
Well,
with big cherries.
well, choke cherries, there's pin cherries. There's a lot of different cherry trees. Anyway, yeah.
But these things are not much bigger than a BB. They're so small.
Yeah, I know what a choke cherry is. Yeah, or a pin cherries. But anyway, yeah. Pod Joe says he lived here in North Dakota for 1 year. Said it was too cold. No thanks. We didn't go. We went back to the mountains. Anyway, but anyway, let's see. Okay, so they were warriors and they were gonna attack a wagon train. So it was very bad. There was a wide, flat prairie with hills around it, and in the middle of this was the Wasichus, big flat plain. You're talking nothing for miles. No trees, like out here. There's no trees. There's nothing. You can see somebody coming miles away by the cloud of dust they're riding their horse with. Wasichus had put their boxes of their wagons in a circle so that they could keep their mules there at night. There were not many Wasichus, but they were lying hidden behind the boxes, and they shot faster than they ever shot at us before. We thought it was some new medicine of great power they had. They shot so fast that it was like tearing a blanket. Why do you remember? Okay, can you tell me?
I know why.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, when they first settlers went out, they were muzzle loaders.
Mm-hmm.
And had to, use the ramrod, put thing, and these had repeating rifles.
Yes, exactly. And
so all they had to do was pull the lever down and shoot again. Pull the lever down and shoot again.
That's right. Because this is just after, because he was talking about the Fetterman fight in 1866. So this is a few years later. And this is probably, it's after the Civil War. So now everybody's getting these, lever action rifles and things like that. So they're thinking this is great power, never seen anything like that. How can we fight this? And then it says afterwards, I learned it was because they had new guns and they loaded them from behind. And this was the first time they had used these guns. And it says here, a wagon box fight, which took place about 6 miles west of Fort Phil Kearny on August 2nd, 1867. They're breech loading Springfields they were talking about. We came on after sunrise. There were many of us, and we meant to ride right over them and rub them out. But our ponies were afraid of the ringing of the fire of the guns of the Wasichus. I suppose, they're just boom, 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 boom. I wouldn't be going out there either.
And the horses ain't stupid neither, so
Yeah, our women were watching from the hills, and we could hear them singing and mourning whenever the shooting stopped. We tried hard, but we could not do it. And there were dead warriors and horses piled all around the boxes, scattered over the plain. Then we left our horses in the gulch and charged on foot, but it was like green grass withering in a fire. So we picked up our wounded and went away. I do not know how many of us were killed, but there was very many. It was bad. I'm listening to these stories and I'm just, I just think, oh my gosh, they want to attack, and the white man's outsmarted them by, well, we got this new gun, and look, it can shoot many bullets, and we just keep killing the Indians off left and right, no worries.
Yeah, and to think that the native folks are like, every time we hear the gun go off, it's going to be a minute or two before they can shoot again.
Yeah.
So they could, ride around and hear the gunshot and then attack. because there was that lull. And it's just like any other gun. You shoot 5 times, and if you're listening, they got to reload. So they're out of ammunition. So, I can imagine them going, hey, bang, there goes one, and they charge, and then there's another bang before they get 2 put. It's like, holy crap, what do they got? To them, it must have seemed like a machine gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As fast as the bullets were coming.
Oh, yeah, because that's it's just crazy. I mean, can you imagine how fast the bullets? I mean, I know what bullets can do nowadays, and it's just boom, 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 boom. Crazy, 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 crazy stuff.
And so after that, and this might be part of your story, and I might be, projecting, but that meant that the Indian had to change their tactics.
Yep. Trying to get everybody's comment in here. It's like the Henry rifles were darn good. Yes, they had Henry rifles. That was some of the, but all this stuff was, a lot of it was developed out of the Civil War. I love Don Knotts. Yeah. Apple Dumpling Gang.
Yeah.
And the name tribes on each other. Yes.
And don't forget to nip it in the bud.
Yeah. We're going to go on
in favor of Don Knotts,
Exactly. I was, let's see. Oh, Black Elk continues. I was 4 years old when, I think it must have been the next summer, first heard the voices. So he's 4 or 5 years old. It was a happy summer. Nothing was afraid because in the moon when the ponies shed. What month is it when the ponies shed?
November.
Nope.
Okay, no, I don't know. I just guessed.
Well, they would shed in the spring. They're losing their winter.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking of the opposite. And never mind.
They grow in the winter and they shed in the spring. Yeah. The Wasichas there would be peace, and they would not use the road anymore. That all the soldiers would go away. The soldiers did go away, and their towns were torn down. And the moon of falling leaves, they made a treaty with a red cloud, and said the country would be ours as long as the grass should grow and the water flows. Okay, so what month is it when the moon of the falling leaves?
October.
Oh, you're real close. November. And he talks about hearing the voices, but it was 5 years old when my grandfather made me a bow and some arrows. So at 5 years old, he got bow and arrows. Okay. And then he had his first vision. And he got to ride a horse. He was given a horse at 5 years old and some bow and arrows, and away he goes. A thunderstorm was coming from where the sun goes down, which would be the west. And I was just riding into the woods along the creek. There was a kingbird sitting on a limb. This was not a dream. It happened. And I was going to shoot at the kingbird with my bow my grandfather made me. When the bird spoke and said, the clouds all over are one-sided. Perhaps it meant that all the clouds were looking at me. And then it said, listen, a voice is calling you. Then I looked up at the clouds, and 2 men were coming there, head first like arrows slanting down. And as they came, they sang a sacred song, and the thunder was like drumming. I will sing it for you. The song and the drumming were like this. Behold, a sacred voice is calling you. All over the sky, a sacred voice is calling you. I can't sing worth a crap. Sorry. Anyway. Anyway. Okay, so we're gonna move on. He has this great vision, and there's two men that came from the sky, take him up into the sky so he can talk to the grandfathers. And he has this crazy vision about horses and the grandfathers and the four grandfathers that come to him, and they tell him all of these things. Um, and he's gone, like they find him like he's dead and sick, he's like for 12 days he's like this. And the oldest of the grandfathers spoke with one kind voice and said, "Come right in and do not fear." And as he spoke, all the horses of the four quarters neighed to cheer me. So I went in and stood before the six, and they looked older than men can ever be, like old hills and like stars. The oldest spoke again, "Your grandfathers all over the world are having a council, and they have called you here to teach you." His voice was very kind, but I shook it all over with fear now. Every time I listened to this, he was always scared. He was scared, scared, scared. I knew that these were not
Yeah,
old
but
men.
let me interrupt. But look how young he was.
Yes, and that's the thing. I wonder if they got the vision. When he got his vision, he was just too young to really understand it, because he talks about in the whole book about his vision and how he can't do anything. He don't know how to do any of this stuff.
Well, let me interject here. Me and my conspiracy theories and so forth, and of course about the star beings. And so, what if the grandfathers in this particular instance were star beings? Because it almost immediately sounded like it. They were so old. Well, what if it was an alien gray, for example, whose skin was well drawn and everything? I mean, he would think, oh my God, that those look like skeleton. So what's to say that he wasn't chosen by star beings, and that is one of the reasons why he's so terrified.
That could absolutely be, because here it's because as I go on, he says, these were not old men, but the powers of the world. And the first was the power of the west, the second of the power of the north, the third of the power of the east, and the fourth of the south, the fifth of the sky, the sixth of the earth. I knew this and was afraid, until my first grandfather spoke again. "Behold them yonder, where the sun goes down, the thunder beings. You shall see and have from them my power, and you shall take you to the high and lonely center of the earth, that you may see, even to the place where the sun continually shines. They shall take you there to understand." See, and if you're talking about that makes sense.
Because the native tribes were visited by star beings, and so, and in his description of things, you got to wonder, I mean, I think, as you're reading it, I'm going, oh man, they, some guys go, holy crap, he was abducted,
Well, and I think so, because it says here, he says, you shall take you to the high and lonely center of the earth, that you may see, even to the place where the sun continually shines. Well, if the sun is continually shining, you might be up in the up high.
Yeah, above the atmosphere.
Yes, and the sun would never go down.
Right.
Which makes sense then. And of course, he's trying to describe it the best he can, because of all of that, so it's kind of neat. And he spoke of understanding. I looked up and saw the rainbow leap with flames of many colors over me. Well, wouldn't that be like the Van Allen belt, the ozone layer? It's like when you see the northern lights. You know what I mean? There
Could
you
be.
go. And he says there was a wooden cup in his hand, and it was full of water, and in the water was the sky. Could that be like, what could that be?
Reflection.
A reflection, yes, like a mirror, or who knows, maybe it was like a tablet or something, he wouldn't know the difference. It was the power to make live, or Take this, he said. It is the power to make live, and it is yours. Now he handed me a bow in his hand, and take this, he said. This is the power to destroy, and it is yours. Then he pointed to himself and said, look close at him, and who is your spirit now? For you are his body, and his name is Eagle Wing Stretches. And saying this, he got up very tall and started running toward where the sun goes down. And suddenly he was a black horse and stopped and turned and looked at me, and the horse was very poor and sick. His ribs stood out. And it goes on about this. I could go on about the different things he said. And
like what?
Well, it goes on about these horses. And he says, the second grandfather, he said, of the north, he arose with a herb of power in his hand. And he said, take it this and hurry. I took it and held it towards the black horse yonder. He fattened and was happy and became prancing and to this place again, and was the first grandfather sitting there. The second grandfather, he of the north, spoke again. Take courage, younger brother, he said. On earth a nation you shall make live, for yours shall be the power of the white giant's wing, the cleansing wind. Then he got up very tall and started running towards the north. And when he turned towards me, it was a white goose wheeling. I looked about me now, and the horses of the west were thunders, and the horses of the north were geese. And the second grandfather sang two songs that were like this. They are appearing, may you behold. They are appearing, may you behold. The thunder nation is appearing, behold. They are appearing, may you behold. They are appearing, may you behold. The white geese nation is appearing, behold. And now it was the third grandfather who spoke, he of where the sun shines continually. Take courage, younger brother, he said, for across the earth you shall take, the earth shall take you. Then he pointed to where the daybreak star was shining, and beneath the star 2 men were flying. From them you shall have power, he said. From them you have awakened all the beings of the earth, with roots and legs and wings. And he said this. He held in his hand a piece of pipe, which he had spotted eagle outstretched upon the stem. And this eagle seemed to be alive, for it was poised there, fluttering, and its eyes were looking at me. With this pipe, the grandfather said, you shall walk upon the earth, and whatever sickens, there you shall make well. Then he pointed to a man who was bright red all over, the color of good and of plenty, and he pointed to the red man laying down and rolled and changed into a bison that got up and galloped towards the sorrel horses of the east, and they too turned into bison, fat and many. And now the fourth grandfather spoke, he of the place where you are always facing, the south, whence comes the power to grow. The younger brother, he said, with the powers of the 4 quarters you shall walk a relative. Behold, the living center of a nation I shall give you, and with it many you shall save. And I saw that he was holding in his hand a bright red stick that was alive, and it looked sprouted at the top and sent forth branches. And on the branches many leaves came out, and murmured in the leaves. The birds began to sing. And then, for just a little while, I thought I saw beneath it, in the shade, the circled villages of my people, and everywhere living things with roots and legs or wings, and all were happy. I shall stand in the center of the nation's circle, again with the circle people, said the grandfather. A cane to walk with, and a people's heart, and by your powers you shall make it blossom. Then when he had been still a little while to hear the birds sing, he spoke again. Behold the earth. So I looked down and saw it lying yonder like hoop of people. Hoop, brown hoop.
Yeah.
And in the center bloomed the holy stick that was a tree. And where it stood there crossed 2 roads, a red one and a black one. from where the giant lives, the north, to where you always face, the south. The red road goes, the road of good, the grandfather said, and on it shall your nation walk. The black road goes from where the thunder beings live, the west, to where the sun continually shines, the east. A fearful road, a road of troubles and of war. On this also you shall walk, and from it you shall have the power to destroy a people's foes. In 4 accents, you shall walk the earth with power. And he says, I think he meant that I should see 4 generations counting me, and now I am seeing the 3rd. Then he rose very tall and started running toward the south, and was an elk, and he stood among the buckskins yonder. There too were elks. Now the 5th grandfather spoke, the oldest of them all, the sky, or the spirit of the sky. My boy, he said, I've sent you, and you have come. My power you shall see. He stretched his arms and turned into a spotted eagle hovering. Behold, he said, all the wings of the air shall come to you, and they and the winds and the stars shall be like relatives. You shall go across the earth with my
Something just glitched. I can't hear Robert. And here I am sitting with bated breath.
Oh, I'm back. I don't know what happened.
You were just turning the page.
Yeah. Did you hear me talk about the 6th grandfather?
He was just going over somewhere, and
oh, the eagle soared above my head and fluttered there, and suddenly the sky was full of friendly wings, all coming towards me. Now I knew the 6th grandfather was about to speak, he who was the spirit of the earth, and I saw that he was very old. But more as men are old, his hair was long and white, his face was all in wrinkles, and his eyes were deep and dim. I stared at him, and it seemed I knew him somehow, and as I stared, he slowly changed, for he was growing backwards into youth. And when I had become a boy, or when he had become a boy, I knew that he was myself, with all the years that would be mine at last. I think that's a kind of good metaphor because he's seeing his higher self, don't you think? And his future self, knowing that he's going to live to be an old man, very wise, and see many generations, and that he is speaking with himself. You know what I mean?
only till at the end, but go ahead.
Okay. My boy, I have courage, for my power shall be yours, and you shall need it, for your nation on earth will have great troubles. Come. He rose and trotted out through the rainbow door, and I followed. I was riding on the bay horse who had talked to me first and led me to this place. The bay horse stopped and faced the black horse of the west, and the voice said, They have given you the cup of water to make life and greening the day, and also the bow and the arrows to destroy. The bay neighed, and the 12 black horses came and stood behind me, 4 abreast. The bay faced the sorrows of the east, and I saw that they had morning stars upon their foreheads, and they were very bright. And the voice said, They have given you the sacred pipe and the power that is peace and good red day. The bay neighed, and the 12 sorrows stood behind me 4 abreast. My horse now faced the buckskins of the south, and the voice said, They have given you the sacred stick and your nation's hoop and the yellow day. And in the center of the hoop you shall set the stick and make it grow into a shielding tree and bloom. The bay neighed, and the 12 buckskins came and stood behind me 4 abreast. Then I knew that they were riders on all the horses behind me. And the voice said, "Now you shall walk the black road with these. And as you walk, all the nations that have roots or legs or wings shall fear you." So I started riding toward the east, down the fearful road, and behind me came the horsebacks, four abreast, the blacks, the whites, the sorrels, and the buckskins, and far away above the fearful road, the daybreak star was rising very dim. I looked behind me where the earth was silent in the sick green light, and saw the hills look up unafraid, and the grasses on the hills, all the animals, and everywhere about me were the cries of frightened birds and sounds of fleeing wings. I was the chief of all the heavens riding there, and when I looked behind me, all the 12 black horses reared and plunged and thundered, and their manes and tails were whirling hail, and their nostrils snorting lightning. And when I looked below again, I saw the slant hail falling, and the long, sharp rain where we passed. The trees bowed low, and all the hills were dim. Now the earth was bright again, and we rode. I could see hills and valleys and creeks and rivers passing under. We came above a place where three streams made a big one, a source of mighty waters and something terrible. It does sound like he's in a ship of some sort, doesn't it?
Yeah, because just before that, he said he was looking down at the earth. He said, "Look, yeah, and so but he's up somewhere looking down."
Yes, yes, exactly. We came above a place where three streams made a big one. I think he's thinking streams are big giant rivers, but if you're up high,
I
it looks like
think
a
I
stream.
think it, if you think of the Missouri and the Ohio, and wouldn't that be the Mississippi possibly?
Yeah, could be.
Because the Arkansas River comes in also. So I mean, there's three big rivers.
It is. It is very, very much so. And something terrible was there. Flames were rising from the waters, and in the flames, a blue man lived. The dust was floating all about him in the air. The grass was short and withered, and the trees were wilting. Two-legged and four-legged beings lay there, thin and panting, and wings too weak to fly. Then the black horse riders shouted, "Honka hey!" and charged down upon the blue man, but were driven back. And the white troop shouted, charging, and was beaten. Then the troop, and the yellow, and when each had failed, they all cried together, "Eagle wing stretches, hurry!" And all the world was filled with voices of all kinds that cheered me. So I charged. I had the cup of water in one hand, and in the other was the bow that turned into a spear as the bay and I swooped down, and the spear's head was sharp lightning. It stabbed the blue man's heart, and it was struck. I could hear the thunder rolling, and many voices that cried, "Ah, meaning I had killed." The flames died, and the trees and the grasses not withered any more, and murmured happily together, and every living being cried in gladness with whatever voice it had. Then the four troops of horses and men charged down and struck the dead body of the blue man, counting coup, and suddenly it was only a harmless turtle. And it says,
You know who the blue man was?
no.
What color jacket did
Oh,
did
yeah,
the
the
troops wear?
blue.
Blue. So when he saw a blue man, it wasn't a blue man. He was wearing blue, which would have been the uniform of the
Cavalry. The
of
cavalry.
the cavalry. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, thank you for figuring that out.
Yeah, because I
Uh,
mean, at first I was like Blue Man Group, and I was like, no, he saw a blue man, and so that would have been all of him. Blue coats, because that's what
yes,
they called them, was blue coats.
yeah, yes,
So anyway,
yes.
I'm sorry, I just had to interject that.
No, you're so right. You're so right. And he talks about more about the horses and riding in the village of the four horses troops. But yeah, I could go on and on and on about this. But
So
we're
what was his vision as the young
yes,
boy
yes, that was his
with
vision.
all
As
the horses and all of the and so forth?
yes, and he basically he gets this vision. He comes back from the dead. And he talks about the women and children dying with the death. Oh, I entered. Okay, it'll just go through here. I entered the village riding with 4 horse troops behind me. The blacks, the whites, the sorrels, and the buckskins, and the place was filled with moaning and with mourning for the dead. The wind was blowing from the south like fever. And when I looked around, I saw that in nearly every teepee, the women and children and the men lying dead with the dead and dying. So I rode around the circle of the village, looking in upon the sick and dead, and I felt like crying. And as I rode, but when I looked behind me, all the women and children and men were getting up and coming forth with happy faces. And a voice said, "Behold, they have given you the center of the nation's hoop to make it live." And we rode to the center of the village with the horses' troops in their quarters around me, and there the people gathered. And the voice said, "Give them now the flowering stick, and they may flourish, and the sacred pipe, that they may know the power that is peace, and the wing of the white giant, that they may have endurance and face all winds with courage." And I think he's talking about what's to come in the future. So he didn't
I do.
realize.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's thinking, you're talking about the blue coats coming and all the women and children are dying because he was there. And farther into the book, he talks about being there for like Wounded Knee and the Battle of Little Bighorn and stuff like that. So he was there for all of those things,
Yeah.
and
I
and
think
he's
the hoop is the powwows to bring the natives together like now, because after all these years they're the native population hasn't blossomed and blown out of proportion, but it has bloomed in a lot of ways in that it's no longer feared. There are powwows, there are white people with background, with Indian backgrounds like me, we are starting to bloom as a people to the understanding of where the native Indian folks, where they came from. So I
exactly.
kind of see this as everybody was dead in the teepees as he rode around. But then, there was that. What did he say? They came back. They came out of the tents and were happy.
Yeah, they were alive and happy, and they followed in the center of the village. But anyhow, yeah. So we're gonna stop right there in that book because I think that needs more attention, and we'll come back to that next week because we've seen what he did with his vision and what he predicted and what his vision was saying, but he gets more visions later on because he does a whole bunch of. I mean, this guy is really interesting. He's there at all the big things like Little Bighorn, a bunch of these bigger attacks. He ends up where the soldiers chase him down and they put him on a reservation. He joins up with Buffalo Bill and goes over to England to do shows in the Wild West show, and then he gets stranded there because they left without him. And then he just to survive there, and he comes back, and so forth and so on. So it really gets interesting. So if you people want to check that out, go check out this book. Like I said, it's on YouTube, and you can listen to audiobook there, and or buy the little book. It's pretty good. Black Elk Speaks. Won't be disappointed. Anyway, so what do you got for us tonight? Or what do you say to all that before we get to your stuff? What do you say to all of that? What do you think of this guy?
And thinking about the whole thing up to now, I'm like, I'm it's hard for me not to believe that he wasn't picked up by, spirit beings. I mean, he said he was, and these elders came, and it's hard not to think about how he would, he looked down upon the earth and the rainbow colors and so forth, and it's like that's just all real strange. And as far, even as a vision, but he was describing that they came and got him, and then his vision. So, it's like, I think they came and got this little boy.
Well, the way, his, I don't know unless, well, I think he was having an outer body experience. That's what I think, because
I think they took his body, actually.
No. He had the parents, because he was talking about how he had mysteriously fallen into the sickness, and many a times he would have these visions where he would like just pass out, and then he would be dead. Like and there's a real good description in when he was in England, or he was in Paris or somewhere like that, and he said he was missing home, and all of a sudden he just blacked out, and they thought he was dead because he was barely breathing, and they thought he literally died, and they were going to get him a casket and bury him. And luckily he woke up several days later. But he said in that dream that, we'll get into that next week, where he missed his home so much, and then somehow he rode on some clouds, and he went back, and he seen his parents. They couldn't see him. He could see his village, et cetera, et cetera. And then when he got back and awake and everything, somehow or another, he knew he was going to make it home. He did. And everything was just as he'd seen it.
Right. Well, now I think that was an out of body, but let's go back to the little boy.
Yes.
Didn't you say he disappeared for days?
No, he died. Like, again, he went into this trance as a little boy, and literally blacked out, so sick he couldn't speak or eat or anything like that. And for 12 days, they had to carry him around, and and nothing could wake him. And
I thought you said that he had literally disappeared for a couple of days.
No, never literally disappeared.
Okay, that's my mistake, because that's why I thought that, if he had disappeared for a few days, they couldn't find him, and that, that's where he was, that he had, been physically, taken. But okay, never mind.
But yeah, I think what it is he was having these like an outer body experience.
Yeah.
And what was it? Book I read about Steve. I don't know if you've heard of Stephen Greer.
Yeah.
And yes, and Stephen Greer talks about something similar when he had his first out of a body experience type thing, that he was sick, or he had sepsis or something like that, and he was dying, and he was out of his body. He went up into the sky, and he met these he called them alien beings up there in the sky, and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And he had conversations and learned things from them up there. And then finally they said, "Okay, you can't be here. You got to go back." And down to his body he went, and when he got back, he was cured. He wasn't sick anymore. Sepsis has gone away. Well, that's the same kind of thing that happened with this guy. He said that his body had swelled up or something like that. Everything, and when he came back, all the swelling went down, and he woke up, and he was fine again. So go figure.
Yeah.
So maybe I can find some more information out about this guy next week, and we'll present that too. But we'll continue on with some more of his great adventures. Like I said, this guy had did it all. He was at all the big events, lots of stories to go on. Talks about traveling the Wild West shows, went to England, came back, did, but basically, the whole story to me, he was going on about how life was really good, and they had plenty of buffalo, they had plenty of food, they just wanted to live in peace. And then when the white man came, all of that changed. We're going to
Yep.
take your land. We want the yellow gold. We'll lease it from you. We'll buy it from you. We only want, just as much as the wagon wheel tracks, but, they're like, yeah, no, you're stupid. We're not stupid. We're not going to, the wagon wheel tracks. We ain't going to give you that much land, because you're going to take 10 times more than that. So anyway.
And so they fought for it.
Well, yeah, and I think some of them knew, and other ones didn't want to fight. Most, I think, were very peaceful people. They just didn't want to fight. They didn't want to, cause conflict. They just wanted to live in peace. And and what happened was the other group of people said, listen, we're going to keep what we got to fight back a little bit. And those were people like Red Cloud, Crazy Horse, Sitting Bull. Those guys said, listen, we want to keep our stuff. We got to fight a little bit. We can't just sit here and just take it.
Right. Well, also the Wasichu kept attacking the Indian, even when even when they weren't attacking. They was like, there's an Indian village, let's go get them. I mean, when they were doing stuff like that, that would piss off the most peaceable Indian. You know what I mean? They just went out hunting one day and came back, and the whole, everybody was gone. I'd be totally PO'd, Where are they? Let me kill them and their wives and children, And so that was going on both sides. So where one group, they were like trying to be peaceable, and then the white folks come along and massacred a bunch of them, and then they got PO'd again and went and massacred some of them. And so, it was on both sides. But, that's what kept the natives PO'd, because the white men kept coming.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they could fight him and they would go back home and stay there. No, the white men, then somebody else had come, then some more blue coats, and then there'd be another fort that would go up. And so, the Indians were throwing their hands up going, this is never ending. We got to fight these people. We got to try to slow them down.
He was talking about, I'll find it next week and mark it, where he was in this one village, and it was winter, and the soldiers come running in, and they're just shooting in the tents and burning the tents, and everybody that was in the village just got up and ran for their lives, taking what little they could on the, just in their hands, their babies and things. And they were saying that the babies, by the time they walked 30, 40 miles to the next village, in the middle of winter, the babies had frozen, the people were dying, they just ran for their lives as the soldiers burned their teepees, shot anybody they could, and call it a win. And in my case, I look at that and I think, oh man, the soldiers were kind of how do I want to put this, weak, because it said that he was also talking about how soon as the Indians started fighting back, the soldiers would run because they were scared. And so they wanted to attack the villages, well, there ain't nobody there, there's women and children, let's go kill them all, right? They ain't gonna fight back. But soon as the warriors come by, we're running. Yeah. Anyway, run to the hills. Yes, run to the hills. True. Oh. Okay. Anyway, I hope you're all getting something out of this. Yes, history repeats itself. We shouldn't forget it. The ugly history makes Game of Thrones look like weak tea. That is true. I mean, we in the United States have never, none of us living have ever experienced anything like this. I don't know how many people could stomach it or get through to the next day without having a breakdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And to think about running 1 mile in the snow.
Yeah.
But to run a bunch of miles to the next village in the snow, just especially with the type of clothes they had, and they are definitely a hardy people, but the human body can only take so much.
Yeah.
But so anyway, the hardships that they endured, it was bad enough just to survive, and then here come the blue coats,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing. People back then were tough. I got a series out there I've been doing on the Robert V channel. You can find the link in the description below. The Robert V Adventures. And I was doing this about the Rocky. I'm going to continue doing it someday, finish it up. But these people were tough. The white man was tough. The Indians were even tougher. I mean, it's cold out and they're running around even in the summertime, they're running around, naked almost all summer. And I'm thinking, it's summer here, I live in the Dakotas, I know what the weather's like. It's always t-shirt weather or sweatshirt weather, even when it's warm out. There's very seldom is it just so warm that you just strip down to your skivvies. Never happening, at least not for me.
Anyway. Yeah, but the human body gets acclimated. And so, if you're used to it, then off the hook. They didn't hardly have food, let alone GMOs. But but anyway, so yeah, there was I met supposedly a relative, a distant relative, of Crazy Horse at a powwow in Tennessee. And this guy, the snow was blowing sideways. It was like 25 degrees in the daytime. And he was just in a long sleeve buckskin jacket, and that's it. And we was all bundled up with stuff and had a thing over my head and muttons on and gloves. And I was like, how can you stand this cold? And he goes, oh, this ain't nothing. I'm from, South Dakota, where it gets cold. And I was like, what? And it was just like, it was just a little chilly for him, and we're all freezing, running up, and I was like, holy mackerel. So, yeah, you can get acclimated, but they're still a hardy people, But anyway, and, speaking of cold, we got the next story coming up. This is my segue. Quail kills cold weather and the thunder family. And you were just talking about how, thunder lives in the West. Well, also think about this, when cold fronts come in down here, they usually come in from the Northwest.
Yeah, that's when they really come in from here.
Wind, it does. And so in that there are clouds in the West and, that the thunder family is from there, that kind of makes sense,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the weather is concerned, but anyway. So here, let me get a sip of coffee, and I will start this story. There are
Absolutely.
supposedly only two characters, but I think there's more than that in here. They just don't name them. So the characters in this is Quail, Popkapimnos, and Stonecoat, who's ice and cold weather. And we've had listened to several stories where Stonecoat is in there, and so it's Janesqua. And cold coffee. Quail kills cold weather and the Thunder family. A man and his wife lived in an ugly looking cabin in the forest. They had one child, a little boy. When the boy was 4 or 5 years old, another child was born. A boy no longer than a hand. The mother died, and the man burned the body. Then, wrapping the baby up in a blanket, he put it in a hollow tree, for he thought it was dead. Each day, the man went to hunt and left the elder boy to play around the cabin. After a time, the boy heard something crying in a hollow tree, and going to the tree, he found a baby. The child was lonely and almost starved. The boy fed it with soup he made of deer intestines. The child drank the soup with great relish, drank again, and soon became strong. The boy gave his little brother plenty to eat, and at last he came out of the tree. The two boys played together. The elder boy made the little one a coat of fawn skin and put it on him. Then, as he ran around, he looked exactly like a chipmunk. One day, the father noticed a decrease of provision and asked the boy what he had done with the deer intestines. The boy said, "I eat a good many." The father looked around the fire and seeing very small tracks said, "Here are the tracks of a little child." Then the boy told how he had found his brother, had fed him and made a coat for him, and how they played together. "Bring him in," said the father. "He won't come. He is afraid." "We will catch him. Tell him to come with you and hunt for mice." The man caught a great many mice, put them in his bosom and his clothes, and going beyond the hollow tree, turned himself into an old stump. The boy went to the hollow tree and called, "Come out, brother, we will play catching mice." The little fellow came out of the tree, and he and his brother ran to the stump, ran around it, and caught a number of mice. The child laughed and shouted with joy. Suddenly, the stump became a man. The man caught the little boy and ran home. The child screamed and struggled. No use. He couldn't get away, but he wouldn't be pacified. At last his father put a little club in his hand and said, "Strike that tree." A great hickory that stood near the house. The child struck the tree. The tree fell to the ground. Everything that he hit with his club was killed. He was delighted. He didn't cry anymore. The little fellow stayed now with his brother, and the two played while their father was off hunting. "You must not go towards the north," said their father. "Bad people live there." "Let's go north," said the little one as soon as his father was out of sight. "I want to find out what is there." The boys started and went on till they came to wooded and swampy ground. Then the little one heard people call, "My father, my father, my father." And he said to himself, "Those people want to hurt my father. I'll kill them." He piled up stones, made them red hot, and hurled them into the swamp till he had killed all of the people there. They were frogs, and they sang, "Hokwa, Hokwa." When the boys got home, their father was angry and said, "You must not go to the swamp again, and you must not go west. It is dangerous there too." The next day, when his father had gone hunting, the little boy said to his brother, "I want to know what is in the west. Let us go there." The two traveled west till they came to a tall pine tree. On the top of the tree was a nest made of skins. "Oh," said the little boy, "that is a queer place for a nest. I would like to see what is in it. I'll climb up there." Up he went, and on the top of the tree, he found two naked children, a boy and a girl. They were terribly frightened when they saw him. He pinched the boy till he cried out, "Father, father, some strange child has come and is frightening me." Suddenly a terrible voice was heard in the far west. The voice came nearer and nearer, and a great dark object hurried along in the air till it reached the nest on the top of the tree. It was Old Man Thunder. The boy raised his club and struck him on the head, crushed him, and he fell to the ground, dead. Then the boy pinched the little girl till she called out, "Mother, mother, some strange boy has come and is teasing me." That minute the voice of Mother Thunder was heard in the west, and soon she was at the nest. The boy raised his club and struck her on the head, and she too fell to the ground, dead. "This Thunder baby will make a splendid tobacco pouch for my father," thought the boy. "I'll take him home." He struck the boy with his club and threw him to the ground. He threw the little girl also. Then he went down himself and said to his brother, "Now we will go home." When the boys got home, the little one said, "Oh, father, I have brought you a splendid pouch." "What have you done now?" asked the father when he saw the Thunder baby. "Old Man Thunder and his wife have never done us any harm. They bring rain and do good, but they will destroy us in revenge for what you have done." "They will not harm us," said the boy. "I have killed the whole family." Another day the father said to the boys, "You mustn't go north. That is the country of the stone coats, ice and great cold." The elder brother wouldn't go, so the little one started off alone. About midday he heard the loud barking of Stonecoat's dog, and knowing that its master must be near, he crawled into the heart of a chestnut tree. Soon Stonecoat came, looked at the tree, and said, "There is nothing here." But his dog, as tall as a deer, barked and looked up. So Stonecoat struck the tree with his mallet. The tree split open, and the boy fell out. "What a strange little fellow you are," said Stonecoat, looking at the boy. "You are not big enough to fill a hole in a tooth." "I'm not here to fill holes in your teeth, said the boy. I came to go home with you and see how you live. Well, all right, come with me. Stonecoat was enormously tall. He carried 2 bears in his belt, as a common man would carry 2 squirrels. Once in a while, he looked down at the little fellow running by his side and said, "Oh, you are a curious little creature." Stonecoat's house was very large and long. The boy had never seen anything like it. Stonecoat skinned the 2 bears, took one for himself, and put one before his visitor, saying, "Eat this bear, or I'll eat you and the bear together." "If you don't eat your bear before I eat mine, may I kill you?" asked the boy. "You may kill me," said Stonecoat. The boy cut off pieces of meat as fast as he could and put them in his mouth, but he kept running in and out, hiding the meat. He was so small that Stonecoat didn't see what he was doing. In a short time, all of the flesh of the bear had disappeared. And then he said to Stonecoat, "You haven't finished eating your bear. I am going to kill you." Stonecoat said, "Wait till I show you how to slide downhill." He took the boy to a long, icy hill that ended in a cave, put him in a bark bowl, and sent the bowl down at great speed. Presently, the boy ran up to where he had started from. "Where is my bowl?" asked Stonecoat. "I don't know. It is gone down somewhere," said the boy. "Let's see who can kick this log highest," said Stonecoat. The log was large around, long and very heavy. Stonecoat put his foot under the log and lifted it into the air, twice his own length. The boy put his foot under the log and sent it whistling through the air. It was gone a long time and then came down on Stonecoat's head and crushed him. "Come home with me," said the boy to Stonecoat's dog. "Now my father will have a splendid dog," he thought. When the man saw the dog, he cried out, "What have you done? Stonecoat will kill us." "I've killed Stonecoat. He'll not trouble us," said the boy. "My boy," said the man, "you must never go southwest. That is where the people live who are always gambling." The next day, the little boy started off alone. About midday, he came to an opening in the woods. At the farther end of the opening was a roof on posts. Under the roof was a man whose head was larger than the head of a buffalo. He was shaking dice for the heads of men who came along. Crowds of men were betting in threes. When the game was lost, the big-headed man with the 3 men stand on one side while he played with the other men, 3 other men. When they lost, they stood with the first 3, and so on, till the number of losers was large enough. Then he cut off each man's head. As the boy came, a large number of men had lost and were waiting to be killed. Hope came to them, for they knew that the boy had great power. The game began again. The boy played. When the big-headed man threw the dice, the boy caused some to remain in the dish and others to go high, and when they came back, to be of different colors. He threw, the dice became woodcocks, flew high and came down dice, all of one color. The two played till the boy won, until he won back the men who were waiting to have their heads cut off. And the big-headed man lost his own head. The crowd shouted, "Now you must be our chief." How could such a little fellow as I am be chief? Maybe my father would like to be your chief. I will ask him. The boy went home and told his father, but his father would not go to the land of the gamblers. He said, "You have come back from the southwest, but you must not go to the east. Bad men play ball there." The next day, the boy went toward the east till he came to a beautiful plain, a large level space where wolves and bears were playing ball with eagles and turtles and beavers. The boy took the side of the wolves and bears, and they said, "If you win the game for us, we will make you chief of this country." The boy won. He went home and said to his father, "I have won all the beautiful country of the east. You must go there and be chief." The father and his two sons went to that country, and there they lived. This is the story. The little boy is called Popkepnos, quail, and is said to personify summer or warm weather. He kills Stonecoat, a character known to be ice and cold weather, and he also kills the Thunder family. The end. Now, that was an interesting story, to say the least.
Yes, it was. More beheadings and killings and stone coats, and you can't have a good myth and tale without somebody getting their head chopped off.
And the number 3 keeps popping up. They gambled in threes.
Yeah.
And also there's been gambling where if he'll go to the house or the teepee or whatever, and we're going to play a game, and whoever wins, gets to cut the other guy's head off. So there's a lot of gambling going on in these stories, a lot of betting and they're betting their heads, they're betting with their lives, which is just like, wait, y'all didn't have wampum to bet with? you didn't have poker chips back then, or something. But but the stories, how they bet their heads. That's just the consistency of that in the stories is what kind of, in a way blows me away,
Yep.
They could have bet their wives, they could have bet their ponies, they could have bet all kinds of things.
Well, remember there was a story where somebody bet their wife or their daughter or something like that. I remember one of them was.
One of them.
Yeah, one story where he bet his family or something, and he says, "Oh, don't worry, I won't lose, blah blah blah. I will bet you, blah blah blah." And he did. He won, and they lost their head, and but he was using his family to bet. And then there was another one where somebody gambled, but he didn't bet his head. The other guy bet his head, but he bet something else. So
right,
it's like,
But those stories there's like one or two of them versus all these others where, it seems like, everybody loses their head at some point. And don't go north and don't go west and don't go east, And I'm thinking that the father set him up.
Yeah.
Don't go north. And the kid was like, wait till he's gone. So It was almost like the father was, was prompting him to be bad,
Yep. Like, I know if I tell him don't go there, that's the first, because he says, don't go north. Father walked out of the house. Hey, let's go north. Let's go see what's up there.
Let's go west. Let's go east. Let's go. Let's go. He told us not to go, so we're going to go. But ain't just like kids, from the, I mean, I know that, don't do that. Well, why? Because I said so, and so it's like you sat around going, I wonder why she said don't do that. And then you want to try it just because you want to know why. Yeah.
Yep.
They told me not to listen to Ozzy. Has your brain rotted out off the hook? Is your brain oozing out your ears yet from Ozzy? I'm shuffling cards, by the way, while we're talking. Yep. So, but I find it interesting. Now, to everybody, that's the Seneca. All right, y'all. So y'all think of a card, and because I'm in the process of pulling one. We get that card all the time.
Let's see what's everybody gonna say. What card do you think he's pulling? We need to, let's see if our psychic abilities can tell us. I think I got a guess. I got a guess in my head. I'm seeing my remote viewing skills here. I'm seeing Scotty Boy says hummingbird. Off the hook says fox. I'm saying it's rabbit. And not it. Probably elk, because I read the Black Elk book today. What is it? Lizard. Lizard and grouse. All right. We haven't had lizard and grouse in a long time.
Well, it seems like I pull lizard all the time, and he's sitting under a rock in the middle of summer, and snake crawls in. This is part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so snake crawls in, and and says, "Hey, can I share your rock? It's the only spot around for a while." And Snake says, you're doing nothing but sleeping anyway. And lizards have double eyelids. So the lizard says, no, I was in the dream time. I wasn't really sleeping. And so let me find my book. But, that sets up the story. Uh-oh. But so, lizard, spends time in the dream time, and ain't that funny? I went right to the page.
Wow.
Yeah, really. Dreaming is lizard. Lizard, will you dream with me? Travel across the stars, beyond the place of time and space. There live visions from afar. So, Lizard's opened his dreamy eyes, and Snake's in there, and Lizard said, Snake, you can share my shade, but you have to go to the other side. And Snake was getting annoyed, and he hissed and he said, how can I bother you, Lizard? Because all you're doing is sleeping. And Lizard smiled and said, oh, Snake, you such a silly serpent. I'm not sleeping, I'm dreaming. Snake wanted to know what the difference was, so Lizard explained. Dreaming is going into the future. Dreaming is going into the future, he said to Snake. I go to where the future lives. You see, that is why I know you won't eat me today. I dreamed you, and I know you're full of a mouse. And Snake said, Why, Lizard, you're exactly right. I wondered why you said you'd share your rock. Lizard laughed and he said, Snake, he said, you're looking for shade, and I'm looking for shadow. Shadow is where the dreams live. Lizard medicine is the shadow side of reality, where your dreams are reviewed before you decide to manifest them physically. I want to read that again because it's really important. Lizard medicine is the shadow side of reality, where your dreams are reviewed before you decide to manifest them physically. So you got an idea what your dream is, what's going to happen tomorrow, or what am I going to do at work, or whatever it is, and you're dreaming of it, or you're in that half dream state. You are reviewing before you decide to manifest them physically. So, if you've got a good idea, you're going to close your eyes and think about it, and you're going to dream about it in a way. So Lizard could have created getting eaten by the snake if he had so desired. Lizard medicine is the medicine of dreamers. Whether dreamers smoke you or dream you. In other words, they smoke the pipe and or whether they dream you. So dreamers can always help you to see the shadow. This shadow can be your fears or your hopes or the very thing you are resisting. But it is always following you around like an obedient dog. If Lizard dreamed of space in your cards today, it may be time to look and see what is following along behind you. Is it your fears? Is it fears of your future is trying to catch up to you? Or is it the part of you that wants to ignore your weaknesses and your humanness? Lizard may be telling you to pay attention to your dreams and their symbols. Make a dream log and record all that you can remember. Be sure to pay attention to each individual symbol or any recurring pattern. If you do not remember your dreams, you could try setting a music alarm or something for 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Dreams are very important. Pay attention to them. Now, the next other card is Grouse, which is, holy criminally. The Lizard is number 36 and Grouse is number 34. That's really interesting. That's really close in the book. And the cards were separated by half a deck. So the two cards were not sitting together in the deck.
Huh.
Grouse is sacred spiral. And, we've talked about the sacred spiral before, and it's the dance and the energy of the dance. And many Plains Indians tribes dance the grouse dance to honor these birds that used to be very plentiful in the plains. The movement of the dance follows a spiral, which is the ancient symbol of birth and rebirth, the rib tunnel of eternal return. The sacred spiral is also one of the oldest symbols for personal power. When you think of grouse medicine, visualize a whirlpool or even a tornado, for the sacred spiral will take you to the center. The spiral is a metaphor for personal vision and enlightenment. Personal vision and enlightenment. And where did we just leave with Lizard? In the dream time. So where would you review that? I mean, that's the two cards were picked, I guess, for that reason, in that, so you're not sleeping, you're in the dream time with the lizard. And the spiral is a metaphor for personal vision and enlightenment. So, close your eyes and envision enlightenment. That's a good message for today. Many initiates on a vision quest paint spirals on their bodies and believe that the great mystery will favor them with visions of power and purpose because of this symbol. The whirling dervishes of certain Sufi orders are masters of the spiral dance and can transcend to higher states of awareness through the repetition of this sacred movement. It is said that the dervishes can travel to the center of the spiral and return with any magical power they choose. If grouse medicine is in your cards, undertake a meditation. Lizard. Undertake a meditation on the various qualities of movement within your world. Begin by visualizing the sun as one member of a huge group of stars, swirling in the massive pinwheel shape of, guess what? The Milky Way. Then draw yourself out of this pinwheel of light and into the spiraling of your own DNA's double helix. Analyze the way you move through your world. So with lizard, you're in the dream time and you're thinking this, and what? You are supposed to dream what you do beforehand. You review it. And so now you're analyzing your way through your world. So I can see where these two cards are definitely tied together. How do you picture yourself in the act of locomotion? What kind of reaction do you create with the energy you send into the universe? So do you walk into a room and people groan, or you walk into the room and they go, "Hey, Hawkeye, how you doing? We wish you'd go away," but I mean, how are you received? What is your locomotion? What is the energy that you portray? So you can think about that while you're in the lizard dream time to try to manifest what your future is. Many spiritual disciplines ask that you cease all external movement in order to recognize the inner life. Lizard. Grouse medicine, however, is an invitation to the dance. Grouse celebrates the divine source through its sacred spiral and offers this dance as a gift. You can spend a lifetime learning Grouse's lesson on how to harmonize your dance with that of Mother Earth's energy and cycles, and how to offer the dance as a creation of selfless beauty. So thank you, lizard, and thank you, grouse. You're going to go into the dream time and think about this. I love it. If I was just dancing through the cards, I couldn't have picked out two that would have matched that well.
That's right. That's right. Good ones. Good ones.
I continue to amaze myself that, in just shuffling the cards and whatever to pull them out to me at random. And they really have, to me, I'm sitting here going, whoa, these two really, and they're 34 and 36 in the book. And yeah, okay, there might be some other, denominator if you counted the letters or something, I don't know. But anyway, that's not, and they were both face up too. So that's good energy, but, think and think about it before you do it, but dance the dance of life. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the spirits for the cards, Thank you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So next week, can we expect more on a continuation of the
Yes.
story we were discussing?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, there's so much more to that. I thought I could do it in a night, but reviewing that book, there's so much cool stuff. I might make a list of all the months, like the Poppin' month, and there's just a lot of stuff in there that we haven't heard before. The Poppin' tree Poppin' month. I get it now that I figured it out. It's like, okay, thanks to everybody in the chat helping me out for that. But like the dark cherry month, dark cherry. When would the cherries be dark? Or the ponies are shedding month. So it's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, but to the eastern tribes, the moons are not named that.
Well, yeah, I mean, but this is just for this tribe, but I mean, it's still kind of neat to hear.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying that I have never heard these moons before because like there's the Duck's Quack moon and there's the of the eastern tribes the moons are named differently.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just kind of interesting. Anyway,
absolutely,
it is very much
absolutely.
So. But well, we've hit our 2-hour mark, believe it or not. But anyway, we had a great show. We'll find out more about Black Elk next week. Maybe I'll have some slides and some more information we can go through. Have a list of all those months and maybe a few other things. And we'll have more great stories, right?
Yep. Actually, it's Okwagwa and Skakedi is our next story in line. And it's Raven and one half of anything. That's our next story coming up next week.
Interesting.
So that's a little bit of a
teaser.
A teaser. Yeah, there you go.
Right. So, of course, we got a show coming up on Saturday again. And I don't even know who's going to be on yet, to tell you the truth. But you got a show coming up tonight.
Yeah, short one, I think. It won't be 5 hours like last night.
I know. I seen you were on last night. I didn't even get to catch it. I got up this morning. I'm like, holy cow, he was on all night long.
But you know what? Early this morning, we had a bunch of new people show up
that's awesome.
and start interacting in the chat room. And 5 new people subscribed to the channel. Nice. And so, I was going to go to bed, and 2 hours later, we're still chatting. And those people that were in the chat room last night subscribed to my channel. And I just want to, I know this is your channel, but I want to say thank you to them folks. And, the folks who subscribed to either or both of our channels, I want to say thank you,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I appreciate everybody because we vibe with the tribe.
Yeah.
That's right. Anyway, remember everybody, we're going through January and it seems to be warm out everywhere, but it will get cold again. So enjoy the days as they are. And I know I'm taking off tomorrow and I just because it's nice and warm, I'm going to be able to sit outside a little bit, enjoy my place. So anyway, remember, be nice to your neighbors. Do something nice for somebody because that's the most important things. Remember, you want to be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love you all. Peace, everybody.